Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today we are going to learn some more by drawing in Autocad, and we are going to duplicate a blueprint. Today the blueprint that we are going to duplicate is a knurled scribe. Now, to get started, I'm going to open my template, and so I'm going to go here, open, go into my Autocad, and I want to open this drawing template. Of course, it will open me up to this page here. But I need to be in the model space. This is the space that we'll be in at the end. This is one of our viewports. And I need to get into the model space. So I click there at the bottom on model. Alright, now just the same as last time, I'm going to model somewhere over in here so that I'm not cramming myself with space. Right here I can sort of organize everything how I want it to look. Once I get over here, space it how I want it to be spaced out, that sort of thing. So I'm going to come over here. Now, looking at our blueprint, I want to sort of see where I'm going to start. And I like to start on, if I'm drawing round objects, I like to start with the diameters in a side view. You might call it the right view in third angle projection. So I'm going to start with that. So just drawing some circles by their diameter. So I'm going to go into my draw toolbar. I'm going to select circle, center, diameter. And I'm just going to pick a spot here. Doesn't have to be anywhere particular. And I notice that my smallest diameter is a 124 to 125 diameter. So I'm going to draw it at 0.124, and we'll add the tolerance later. Now, you notice we have to zoom in quite a bit in order to really be able to see this. So I'm going to repeat that circle, and I need a larger one this time. This circle will be 5/16. So if you know the decimal conversion for 5/16, you can go ahead and do that. I'm just going to type 5/16. Should be a circle of about 0.3125 if memory serves correctly. But drawing it just like that is easy enough. Now, I've got my two circles on the side, so I'm going to zoom out, sort of move over a little bit, and I'm going to start drawing the lines of the scribe itself. Now, looking at the scribe overall, its length is 4.5 inches long. So sort of like we did with the plumb bob, I'm going to draw a line, and I'm going to track. Now make sure, I'm going to escape out of this, make sure your object track settings, all of them are selected, or your object snap settings I should say. Make sure all of those are selected. Okay. Back to line, I'm just going to type L for line here. I'm going to select the top quadrant, And I'm going to move over reasonable distance. Doesn't have to be too far, too close. It can be whatever. I'm going to select right there. Then in my, you notice the two boxes that come up are for the length and for the angle. I'm going to type in the length first, so 4.5 tab, not enter, 4.5 tab. So now you see this is going to go pretty much wherever. Then I'm going to hold down Shift to turn on ortho. I could also turn on ortho down here in the bottom, ortho mode. It's Command L or Control L, but holding down Shift works for me. Remember that I am on a Mac and not on a PC. So then I'm going to hold down over the bottom quadrant of this. And if I zoom in too far, then I won't be able to go where I need to go. So bottom quadrant, come over here, see that green object snap needs to come on. There we go. And so then I'm going to turn ortho on once again. I'm going to hover over this. See that little star asterisk cross. Click and finish out. Press escape to finish drawing our box. So now I've drawn the main part of the main body. Of our Scribe. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, and I'm going to use a nice little setting. So we notice that our Scribe has a taper on this front half. That taper goes up to a smaller diameter, which is 124, 125, which is the inner circle. That's the drilled hole that is on the end of this, and that's for our insert, which you'll notice on the bottom of the blueprint. So what I'm going to do is I need to offset this line 3/8 of an inch. I need the same line 3/8 of an inch back here so that I can create my taper. I need to create my 10-degree taper, but I need a vertical line that looks just like this one, 3/8 of an inch back here. So how will I do that? Well, if you go to your toolbar, in the Modify section, you'll see this Offset button right here. We could type into our command bar the word offset. I'm just going to go ahead and click right here. And you'll notice before I've done anything, next to my cursor it says specify offset distance or. And I can press the down arrow to see the or, through, erase, layer. I don't want to do that. I'm going to escape out. We'll reselect it. I want to specify my offset distance, which is 3/8 of an inch or 0.375. You can type 3/8 if you need to. Press enter. Now notice my cursor has changed into a square. So I can now select the object which I want to offset. And I'm going to select this line here. See, it's highlighted. Now it wants to know what side do I want to offset it. So if I hold it to the right of my line, it would offset it this way. If I hold it to the left, it offsets it this way. So once I'm to the left, I just click. Now I could keep doing that if I wanted to keep adding lines back and back and back and back. That would be fine. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to press enter again so that I'm done. Now I can create the 10-degree taper. a simple 10-degree taper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line. Let's come in here a little closer, and I'm going to click the intersection of my line with the upper point here, and I'm going to hold out and to the right. Now notice my angle box already shows 10, but I want to make sure it's at exactly 10, so I'm going to type 10 in with a decimal. And now it will absolutely snap this way. So I just hold the line past it somewhere and click. Let's repeat our line, right click, repeat line, down here to the bottom endpoint. Once again at 10. So you tab to switch between these boxes. 10. And then here again holding past it and click. Escape to be done. Now I need to trim the excess off here, so I'm going to right click, or I'm sorry, not a right click, left click and drag to the left. I drag up and to the left. I had to force a habit there. Select our trim tool, the little scissors over here in the modify bar, and I'm going to click these lines here. I'm going to click and drag to these lines here, click and drag those lines there. Now I have a nice, press escape or enter when we're done. I have my nice 10-degree taper here. Now, you will notice that on our drawing or our blueprint, there are some lines that come through here, and those lines represent the hole that is drilled into this for our insert. So I need to create those. For that purpose, I'm going to click line. I'm going to go to the upper quadrant here, and I want to track evenly out. I don't want to click on the intersecting line itself. I want to click before it and then turn ortho on, shift click. And now I'm going to click on the intersection. And I'll show you why this is important in just a second. Let's repeat line, right click, repeat line, lower quadrant, somewhere before, shift click to the intersection. So now what we're going to do is we are going to extend these two lines the length of the depth of our hole. The depth of this hole is 7/16 of an inch. So I'm going to select this line, and then I'm going to hover my cursor over, you see these three little squares here, over this intersecting square. And then when this stretch box comes up, I'm going to click it, and now notice I can stretch my line. So I'm going to stretch it by how much? By 7/16. And you'll notice that my line has now extended what appears to be the proper length. Again, select this line, hover over that square, stretch. And that's a node, by the way. So 7/16, enter. And now I have two nice lines that have stretched themselves. I can select all of this and trim these lines away. Now, this represents, these two lines here represent a drilled hole. When you drill a hole, your drill has a tip. The blueprint does not specify the angle of the drill tip, so we're just going to make up our own from what we know to be a standard drill tip angle. And I'm going to use 82 degrees, which if you notice when we go to the left, then we're basing it off of 180 minus 82. Which would be 98 degrees. Repeat line. Now they're intersecting with each other, so I can select, and I'm going to trim the excess lines off. Now, that looks fine. So now I need to turn these lines here into what we call hidden lines. Because if I were looking at this part, if it were a solid model, I would not be able to tell that these lines are really here. There would be a solid part here because this is inside of a hole. So I need to represent that. So what I'm going to do is go down here to line type. Now notice that hidden lines have not been loaded, so I'm going to click manage. When this line type dialog box comes up, I'm going to click load. I'm going to scroll down here to hidden, and just the regular hidden lines here. Click add. I also know that later I'm going to need center lines, so I'm going to go ahead and click load again, and I'm going to select center line, and I'll click add. Okay. So now select those two lines. In our properties, if your properties dialog box is not up, then you can type properties into your command bar. Mine is already brought up, so I'm going to click line type, and I need hidden lines for this application. Now we notice that I'm only getting a couple of slashes. I really need the scale to be smaller. Right now it's at 1. Let's cut that in half and see if that looks better. That's a little better, but not what I'm going for. Let me click 0.3. Still not really what I'm looking for. Let's go down to 0.1. That is much better. That's what I'm looking for. So now I'm representing those hidden lines. All right. Well, the main part of this is, for the most part, growing into shape. I need to see what the diameter of this is, but I don't want to go through the extra steps of measuring this line here and then creating a circle to match. So what I'm going to actually do is draw a line is draw a circle that does match. So I'm going to go circle, center, radius here. I'm going to click on the center node of these two circles because everything is nice and concentric. So center. Then I'm going to hover over this top corner of that line. I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to shift click so ortho comes up, and notice the little crosshair asterisk that comes up when you see the green track line. So I know I'm in the right spot, so I can click there. Now, for the sake of a measurement, this diameter does not really matter, but having the representation here is important. So it looks like we've almost got our main body of the scribe, what we are calling the housing on the blueprint. Looks like it is mostly done. I'll accept a couple of things. One, I need that medium knurl section to be represented. And two, I need the taper on the backside of what is a chamfer on the backside of this part to be represented. So I'm going to do that part first. We're going to do our same offset entities that we did on the other side. So I'm going to go in my Modify tab, click Offset, specify offset distance. This time is only 1/16 or 0.0625. I'm going to click the line and click to this right side. Press Enter or Escape. And I'm going to draw a line. This is going to be at a 45-degree angle, so I have to go at either 90 plus 45, 180 minus 45. Either way, you're going to end up with the same number. So we tab over to that, and then just drag it past the line and click. Repeat line, right click, repeat line. Do the same thing. Tab over to the angle, and then drag it out past. Escape. Let's select all of our lines here. Click Trim and Modify section. Trim those lines. Trim these lines. Alright, so now what I need to draw is a little line here. I'll keep this on center. Let's start at about right here. And we're just going to shift click out here. And this section of the blueprint is not critical because this is representing something that is across the entire across the entire part. Excuse me for a second. So I've created this little region here, this little box. And I'm going to go over here, and you see in my draw section, you'll notice under that I have a hatch section. I'm going to select this hatch command. It says pick internal point. So I'm going to go inside here, click there. Now of course the type of hatch is incorrect. So while my hatch properties dialog box is up, I'm going to click this down arrow. We're going to open our library, and I need a diamond shaped, which is going to be this ANSI 37. You'll notice though that it's really too big for our needs, so we're going to click it down probably till we get to about 0.4. Yeah, that looks appropriate. And we can get out of that. So we'll make a notation of that later on. One more thing that I need here along this area is a center line representing that this is a round part here. I'll click there. Remember how we extended those lines before, so I'm going to click this line and I'm going to extend from the end by 1/8 of an inch, 0.125. Go to the other end and do the same thing. Select the line again. In our properties dialog box, I'm going to select center line, and it looks like the line scale is good for what we need. So I'll just deselect there, press escape or enter. And now we have drawn the main body of our part. So now I need to draw the insert. The insert. So I'm going to come down here and I know that the insert is an 1/8 inch dowel rod. So I want to keep it nice and in line, so I'm going to hover over this bottom corner here. Come down. Give it a good amount of space between. Right here looks good. So I'm going to just draw an 1/8 inch box like I did before. So it's 1 inch and 1/8 long. So we'll type 1.125 tab and shift click to get it at ortho. It's 1/8 of an inch thick, so that's 0.125 tab. We could type 90 to get our exact degree and press enter. Hold over there and then down. Shift click to make it ortho and then straight up. Now I have the general shape here. I'm going to zoom in. And I know that I have a 10-degree taper. It does not really specify how long this taper is going to be, so that's not a critical dimension. So then the way I'm going to create this is by drawing a line from the midpoint. I'm going to go from the midpoint of this line, so I'm going to select there. So 180 minus 10 is 170. So tab 170 and tab again, and just drag it back until it is past our main rectangle here. Right click, repeat line. Another way I could do this, I could select this line. I could come over here to my Modify tab and Mirror Entities. Specify the first point of the mirror line. Let's go right here. And I'm going to shift click back. And you notice Erase Source Object. Nope. And as you can see, I've created the same exact line. So right click or left click and drag to select everything. Select my trim tool. Trim here and here. Trim there and trim there. This line didn't want to go away on its own, so we'll just have to delete it manually. Now, just to make this look appropriate, I'm going to draw a vertical line right there. Excellent. Now I do need a little taper on the back side of this. Most dowel pins have a small taper on one side, so I'm going to offset this line by 25 thousandths, 0.025. Drag this direction, press enter, draw a line, 135 degrees, click, repeat line, 135 degrees, click, select all, and trim away. Enter. So now I have the two parts of my Scribe, and I have what looks to be everything on there. Now I need to start adding dimensions. So in my toolbar, I'm going to go to the Dimension tab. Let's start with the main dimensioning tool. And I always like to start with the largest dimensions first, so I'm going to select this midpoint line here. And drag over to this midpoint line right here. Zoom out some. And we'll give it a good amount of space. Click up. Now we'll change it to fraction in just a few minutes. Don't need to worry about that right now. Next I'm going to go here to this midpoint line, back to that line, give it a little space. I'm going to use that line for reference. Take this line here to this line right here. And we'll drag down. And that 1/2 inch dimension that you see, I don't need it. Or I don't need any other dimensions right here. So I'm going to go over here. And I sort of have to walk around this a little bit. Oh, that's fine. So let's escape out of our main dimensioning tool and go down here to the Dimension tab. And right here where it's talking about linear, I'm going to select the down arrow or hold if you're on a Mac tool. And I want to select dimension diameter. So I'm going to select this diameter first. Drag up here. And then I need to select this smaller diameter, whoops, repeat dim diameter, this smaller one here. That is 124, and I'm going to make those as even as I can get them, spaced out pretty nice from one another. That looks good there. One thing you will learn is that there are many ways to achieve the same end result. So don't get too nervous about doing it exactly the way that I do it. If something else makes a little bit more sense to you, try doing that instead. Let's get the overall dimension here. This node. Again, we'll change it to fractions shortly. Press enter. Now I need to go back in here to my dimensions, and I need angular dimensions. Select this line, select this line. I want to make sure that it makes it a 10-degree angular dimension. Repeat dimension angular. And I'll select this line here, and do the same thing. Looks like I left a dimension out. I'm going to click my main dimensioning tool, and I'm going to select this line and this line. Up to about right there. Alright, so enter or escape. Let's turn most of these. This one I want to leave in a decimal form, but most of these other dimensions I want to turn into fractions. So I'm going to start like right here. Actually, I think I can do it from right here. Yeah, that's perfect. And I'm going to click and drag across so that I've only selected dimensions. Some are rotated, some are diametric dimensions. It doesn't really matter. In our properties box, first of all, we are going to make the text size a little bit smaller. It's defaulting to 180 thousandths. I'm going to bring it down to about 0.125. Make it a little bit smaller there. And you'll notice that we've left some out. If you went ahead and clicked those as well and grabbed them, that's fine. I'll make sure to add those in just a second. 125. Now I'm going to scroll down here. Dimension units, that's under the primary units section. Dimension units, we are going to switch to fractional. And a 1/16 precision. And that should be good enough for those. Need to do the same to that section there. Make those the same size. Excellent. Now, I don't like the way these angular dimensions look. So I'm going to select those. Angular dimensions. I'm going to make the arrow size for those smaller as well, only 1/8 of an inch, and I'm also going to change the text to 1/8 of an inch. That's much better. Now down here into the fit, yep, I scrolled past it. In the fit section, I'm going to click text inside. You'll notice that now the 10 degrees is inside of the angles, and that looks much better. Now the last thing I need to change is this guy here, this dimension, and we're going to change it to match the size of the text, 0.125. And we're going to keep the primary units as decimal. The precision will bring to 3 decimal places. This is what I'm interested in for it, is the tolerance section. So upper limit 0.001. So I changed the tolerance display to limits, changed the tolerance upper limit to 1,000th. And I press escape, and now you will notice that my diameter is a 125 to 124. Looks like it switched back to 4 decimal places, which I did not want. Oh, tolerance precision helps to change that one as well. Alright, one more thing that I want to change for my sake is this little crosshair here. I want to make it much smaller. So notice center mark. We'll change the center mark size to 0.05. Actually, let's change it to 0.03. And escape. There's another center mark that belongs to this dimension. I'm going to change it to 0.03 as well. And that looks much more appropriate. Alright, so now we are ready to move. Actually, no, we're not. Yes, we are. We're going to move now to move everything here inside of our blueprint space. So I'm just going to select everything. I'm going to right click and select move. And I'll just select the end of this line here. Scroll back out. Let's go inside here. If you hold down your center wheel, the scroll wheel, if you click it, you can drag vertically, where if you, of course, drag it, that's zooming in and out. And I just want to find a nice centered place in this blueprint for everything. Make it sort of look appropriate. So I'm going to try to line up the boxes here, not get it too far up or too far down. About right here looks pretty good. And then I've got about 3 to one side, about 3 to the other. I like it. So you notice there are a couple of pieces of information missing. One is the leader that tells us that this is a 1/8 diameter dowel rod ground to a point. The other would be that this knurl right here is a medium knurl. And of course our main section groups that this is the housing and that this is the insert. So let's add those. We're going to go down here to our toolbar to the leader section. I'll select this main multi-leader here. Let's do the dowel rod first. Now I don't want to click on it. I want to click kind of close to it. So I'm going to click about right here and drag away. And about right here looks good. So I'm going to type 1/8. I'll space. I believe it's 2% signs the letter C to get the diameter. Like using all caps. Dowel rod, enter, ground to point. And let's select all of our text here and center it. And also make it 1/8 of an inch to match the rest of our text. We'll click save when we're done. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to repeat multi-leader. And I'm going to select about right there. And we'll drag up here somewhere. And I'll type. I'm going to adjust so I can see myself typing here. Medium knurl. And once again, we'll change this to 1/8 of an inch centered. Select save. And the last thing we'll do is create a couple of text boxes. So text here, just click here, just give it a little bit of space there, and we'll type housing. I'm going to leave that at 0.2, and we'll click save, right click, repeat M text, and we'll click insert, type insert. Save. Now the main part of our blueprint is done. From there you can create text boxes in the description, the material, the drawing number to match what we've given. Put your name and the date for designed, and once you're ready to export it, let's go ahead and click File, Save As first. And we don't want to save it as our template. Instead, we want to save it as a knurled scribe. And instead of an Autocad drawing template, we'll save it as a .dwg and click save. From here, I'm going to go back down to my viewports tab at the bottom, click wide letter here as it is so named, and then click File, Print. You notice it'll come up, and instead of printing the layout, we want to print extents. Notice how it's not quite centered, so I'm going to click the center the plot button. Now it looks good. and I can click Save as PDF. Save it as a Knurled Scribe.pdf, and you're done. Thanks for watching today's video. We'll see you next time.